Good evening, everyone, from New Jersey, where we drink out of mugs that say Texas. I'll wait for people to get on here first. My guess is Tracy Pinter is the first person on here. I could be wrong, though. I'm not really certain. So I was right. I just said, my guess is the first person that tunes in is Tracy Pinter, and I was 100% right. So Tracy Pinter, I shouted you out on my video that's coming out tomorrow, I think. So you can check that out. I shouted a bunch of you out. Oh, Turtle's on here. So Teachers Connect, I have a question for you. I was just thinking, if you can shoot me an email, even tonight, because I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. But so you'll see. Turtle, what are you talking about? Richard Royster had a really great answer to some comment this week about like helping students when they're failing. And it was something that, like, I've read so much stuff this week, but the thing that stands out is something to the effect of like not just crushing students when they fail and like giving them they have to see hope in order to keep going. And I just, that made me think of that. So Tracy Pinter just finished her lesson plans. Oh, I wonder if there's a side business helping people do their lesson plans. So let's see. Marbia Byers, I think I said your name right. Awesome. I'm glad that you're here. Nayara, it's bright and early over there in China. Hales Teach, what's up? So I'm waiting for my wife. Miss Pratt, Kimberly Wallback. There she is. The not so secret wife. That my son and his friend had to walk 4 blocks to my son's friend's house, and it's, I don't know, it's cold. It's officially freezing cold outside. So they were like, "No, we need a ride." It's pronounced Marbe. That makes sense. Thank you for doing that. So listen, go ahead and drop your questions in there and stuff like that. And remember, like, just so, like, in case you don't know this, because I usually say at the end, I go back and read all of these comments when I'm done. So I appreciate everyone, like, the stuff that you're saying. And it's funny when my wife is like, "You have to see this one comment that was in there." Who was cracking you up last week?
I can't remember their name.
They were like,
I have like
somebody was like annihilating you last week, and you were like, she is on the side over here, like cracking, like shaking, laughing. And I'm thinking, what the hell is she laughing at, man? I don't know what's going on. So go ahead and leave all your stuff in there. And I want to mention something real quick. So Teachers Connect, who I talk about all the time, every week, we mention Teachers Connect. And typically I get a question from Teachers Connect. But recently my friend Frank at Teachers Connect asked me to talk a little bit about this thing called the Student Research Foundation, something that Teachers Connect has connected with. Whoa, that was a lot of connecting going on. So I went on the site and I was looking at like some of their stuff. And one of the things I thought was really awesome was there's a teacher, Mrs. Henry, who teaches in Texas. And you can see this whole story is on Teachers Connect. But essentially, she found out that a bunch of her students wanted to become teachers after they were done high school. So, but they didn't want to wait to start teaching. So they asked if they could make a reading center. I think this is really awesome. Make a reading center in their classroom so that they could start bringing elementary kids in now and giving them extra help and teaching them. And so like this was, it connected so much to like when I'm always telling folks, like when they say like, I'm in high school or I'm in college, what's the best way to prepare? The best way to prepare is by actually starting to do the thing, like whatever it is that you want to do. And in this case, most of the time it's teaching. How do you get better? How do you build those skill sets? It's by starting to do it. And I just thought it was awesome that a teacher created a space for her students to do this. And she runs down like how they made the space in the room, how they got students involved, how they got elementary kids involved. So that's worth checking out. So if you go to Teachers Connect, it's free to sign up. You just sign in and it's only for educators, right? So there's not like parents in there or students in there, or like, it's this created this safe space is what Frank and the gang have done over there. And you can just go over there and like check all that stuff out. And if it's on, I think this article I was talking about was on the first page, then you can click and it takes you to their site and you can read the rest of it. So I just thought it was rad. It has a picture of the kids on there and everything. but I loved it. And so, yeah. What are you looking at over there? Do we have anything else, announcement kind of stuff that we want to talk about?
No, well, I mean, I swear to goodness, the mentorship. I had the last piece of the puzzle was done. I'm gonna connect it, and so if you sent an email, that will go out tonight.
All right.
I swear, I promise you.
Are you
I'm promising.
You can't promise the people things and then
I'm
not
promising.
deliver.
No, I know. I'm promising. It makes me accountable.
Because you just said it to the world?
Yes.
I mean, Nayara is in China, so everyone in China knows now also. All right, what do you got for me? Was there anything else we wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. I got a great video coming out tomorrow. I'm excited about it because it's all about everybody else, and I get to shout a bunch of people out and stuff.
Piano Boy, but it's one.
All right, so I'm just going to jump into these questions because here's the gig. We've been having so many people watch, and we've been having so many questions. I just want to like try and get through them the best that I can. So if I'm not being like sociable, just saying hello to everyone, that's why. It's because I just want to give people value. And let me say this. A pipe burst at the school yesterday, and now I got off tomorrow, and it didn't burst in my room, which I'm pretty stoked about because a pipe almost burst in my room. Like it almost leaked into my room last year. And if you see my classes, all the chalkboard drawings would just mean it would be annihilated. I literally lost like one book and one drip went through the chalkboard last year. So I'm stoked. So I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling ready like it's Sunday night and Monday is a holiday.
Day off. Someone said they had a snow day.
They just snow. Oh,
they have a snow day tomorrow.
Oh man,
they were psyched about like no
it
school
is.
tomorrow.
It's like it is.
It's like Christmas
a
morning
level
for
of
adults.
freedom that you are like you're just out of nowhere. Like you're all ready for the day, and then guess what? Bam! And then on Tuesday we're going to Princeton University to go see A Christmas Carol with some of the boys. So that's like a day off too. Bam! It's Christmas break come early. All right, let's go. Piano Boy. Hey Reynolds, I'm officially done with school now. I graduated yesterday. Wait, did he say this in the Facebook group?
No, so that was someone else.
Someone
that
else?
was Jade Dobson.
Okay. I didn't know because I'm assuming his real name's not Piano Boy.
Oh, well,
maybe it is. I don't want to be insulting. I graduated yesterday and I have my PEL on December 20th, professional educator's license. Awesome. I would like to get your thoughts on something. Should I substitute first and then job, or go for it all the way and get a job, not substitute? Nope, go do it. Look, there are people that love substituting. I hated it. I thought it was the worst ever because I wanted to be invested, and this was like filling in wasn't like a chance to be invested. Here's a quick metaphor for that. I've rented properties before in my life to live in. Not until I actually lived in one did I ever want to like clean up my street, pick up trash that was on the corner, go to the vacant house down the block and like mow the lawn and edge it and clean things up and trim the bushes. Why? Because I lived there, because I wanted to be invested. I wanted to dig deep from the jump. So that's what I think you should do.
Charlotte's Web, but you have to scroll down for the other portion of the question.
Cool. That being said, if you can't get a job right away, like I'm not sure where you're going, where you teach, where you live, that kind of thing, maybe subbing is a good idea for now, but just so be mindful of that. But then if you get a job, like drop that sub madness right away. Charlotte Webb is saying, I was really inspired by the video you posted this week about helping kids understand how to work backwards from their goals in their schoolwork. I'd love to help kids do this. Hold on, there's a second one. I know. Sometimes people's things like look the same on the side. I work as a career coach, so I think I have some skills. I'm sure you do. I'm fine just calling a school, but I'm not very familiar with the U.S. school system. Will there be someone doing that already? Wait,
did you read two different ones?
Did I not?
No, I work as
really inspired by the video. Sorry, I'd love to help kids do this. I work as a career coach. Oh, okay. So you want to see like you don't currently work in the school system, but you do career coaching and you'd love to help kids do that. I think so. I would call college offices in schools, right? So I know our college office is always looking for people to connect with students, right? There's something about, so in that video I talked about when we went to go see Gary Vaynerchuk, and Gary Vaynerchuk's like this big deal YouTube guy, gazillionaire, lives in New York City, runs this company called VaynerMedia and Vayner Sports and all those kinds of other stuff, right? So we go up to see Gary V, and literally he is saying some of the stuff he's saying is the same exact thing that I tell my students all the time. But coming from him, they're like, yo, did you hear when he said this? And I'm like, bro, I've been saying that for 4 years. But it's kind of like when you're growing up, like if your mom says something to you, like, or tells you to do something, it's your mom saying it, right? So you're not hearing that. But if your best friend or someone you like says it, like says, hey, that's kind of annoying when you do that, you should stop doing it. You're like, oh, I never thought of that before. And then you stop doing it. And it's like, it's always about the messenger. So maybe you're a better messenger than some of those other people are, right? And just because even not saying you're like a better person or you have to think of it that way, but you're just a new source that the same information is coming from, right? It's so much often more about the messenger than it is about the message a lot of times. Like you need to have the right person say it. So that's what I would do. Just contact career offices in high schools. And if they say that they can't use you or they're not interested, I would make sure to say like, well, could you maybe connect me with a school that would be interested in this kind of thing? Because all you need is really one connect, and then they'll tell the right people so that you can keep kind of growing that. But that's a great idea. Hale's teacher saying, I have a class that doesn't like each other at all. They're exhausting to teach because they are always something to deal with. Any thoughts? That's interesting. So I'm thinking about classes that I've had in the past that's happened with. And so last year, actually every year, it is, so we typically have 8 periods a day, and the 8th period is always at the end of the day. Even though we have a rotating schedule in our school, the 8th period until this year has never changed, just always stays the same. And it's always a nightmare because that means the kids had 7 other classes to get in trouble in earlier in the day, and then I get them at the end. It's like a nightmare most of the time. And so we would go in and the kids would hate each other and they would dog each other and they would make fun of each other, and not like in a good way. Like I'm down with making fun of each other and like being silly and stuff like that. I'm not into people hurting each other's feelings or like saying lazy jokes. Like if a kid's fat, you're not allowed to tell him because it's lazy. But if he forgot his Blistex and his lips are all cracked, like you can make a joke about that. It's hilarious and it gets him every single time. And so I have started doing things like I make people awesome, right? Oh God, that sounded really bad. That sounded ridiculous, right? So this is what I mean by that. I don't mean that I'm like inventing awesomeness, but I call things out, and I am the example of what it looks like to call someone out that's doing something great. I will also do things like so a woman that I work with, Miss Maloney, started this thing a few years ago where she has kids like write notes. She prints out like prefab sheets, and the kids write notes to teachers that they like or appreciate in the school. So there's that also. And so what this is doing is it's building a sense of gratitude or being thankful or being kind to others by not directly students doing it to one another. They're learning how to do it to other people within that space. And so then I will do stuff like call like other dudes out in class. Like, so there's even if there's like warring factions in that class, there's got to be kids that like are not so much a part of that, and then like shouting them out or making things like if someone's reading a journal, playing music behind it. So that I did this in a video recently too. We play like sad music or exciting music or silly music. So what you're doing is you're creating this, you're changing the vibe in the space as much as possible. So then you can build those connections. And then I just tell the kids like, stop this. And even if you have to lie, I lie and say this stuff all the time. For sure. No. I don't care if they know, because I'll still do it. And I'll be like, oh, I was kidding. I don't lie for this class. But I tell kids like, this literally could be the greatest class of the day. Like, because I see this in you and this in you and this in you and this in you. This could be amazing every day, and we get to end our day. So no matter what madness happens during the day, 8th period could crush every day. But when we're doing dumb stuff like you guys keep going back and forth, or you're doing this over here, or you're not paying attention, or you're asleep, it ruins stuff. So, but you have the power to create a space with me that is awesome every day. And just letting them know that, putting them on blast for that stuff, sometimes that really, really helps. Jager Riley is saying, hey, Reynolds, you inspire me to decorate my classroom to look like Victorian era study. Is there a way I can send you photos? Yeah. You want to type this, John, in? Or am I doing it?
No.
Okay. My wife's going to put it in the comments now. Real Rap with the Reynolds. Our old channel was called Real Rap with the Reynolds instead of Real Rap with Reynolds at gmail.com. I'd love to see it. Somebody sent us a video this week too, and I didn't respond to the guy yet, who did a video about his classroom based on my classroom, which was really fun. Good job too. I love when people take ownership over their classroom. Jay Dobson is saying, oh, Jay Dobson just graduated from college yesterday. Good work. Hey, Reynolds, what's the best way to handle a class that won't stop? Right? That was her.
Yeah.
All right. I just want because I got confused. Jade, in the picture that you posted, I thought it was the dude, because I don't know. Jade is sort of an ambiguous name, right? Couldn't that be a dude? Maybe not.
No.
Come on,
I
everything.
don't think you looked at the name and you just assumed that
I just assumed it was the guy for some reason. I don't know.
Because you're a guy.
Well,
I just think we connect
Wow.
like subconsciously because yeah.
You just assumed it was the girl?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and I also read her name.
Anyway, Jay Dobson is asking, what's the best way to handle a class that won't stop talking? How do you get their attention and discipline students who are rude or disruptive? Look, there's a million different ways that you could do this. I'm not sure that the way I do stuff all the time is the best way for everyone. It works for me. So I will tell kids, like, if you don't sit down, I'm like, I will squirt you with this water pistol. And somebody brought up the shooting kids with a water pistol thing, right, in a number of comments before. And so this idea of like a water pistol is a gun and you have it in school and you're shooting kids with it. And like, I get that. So now I have, I do still have one regular water pistol, but I bought water pistols that look like dolphins. So now it's spitting dolphin. And I just feel like maybe that solves that problem. So anyway, what I'm trying to do is get kids' attention, right? You can flick water on them if you want to, but it makes them sit down. I have a megaphone that I got at Kohl's for $8 last Christmas season. So 'tis the season right now. It's megaphone season now. And I use that all the time to just get kids' attention. Or you can get megaphones at the dollar store. It's pretty much just like a parking cone without, with a place to put your mouth on the end of it. But and you can just yell with that thing as well. And so here's the gig, right? This is how I'm going to break it down. Every single day in my hallway, me and my homie, Mr. Hasty, are standing in the hallway, and he's a great guy. And we like make fun of kids, or we tease kids, or we talk to kids, we give high fives and all this stuff, right? Every day we're out there. And my friend, Miss Flounders. Every day we stand out there and go, I need your shirts tucked in. I need your headphones out. Say this hundreds of times a day. I need your shirt tucked in and your headphones out. I need your shirt tucked in, your headphones out. So a couple weeks ago, I start saying, yo, so I see guys that are dressed coming down the hallway and I go, yo, guys, you need those shirts untucked and the headphones in, please. Come on, what are we doing? We're messing around too much. That gets people's attention. When you go into your classroom and I say, all right, animals, here we go. And the kids go, wait, did you just call us animals? Yep, because it gets your attention. Now, depending on the school that you're in, it might get you punched in the mouth also, or get you an angry phone call from his parent. That's why it's hard for me to say exactly what to do. But I just know that sometimes just kind of smiling about the situation, at least inside, and then going, how am I going to get this? How am I going to handle this? There's a way to get these kids' attention. And so I think doing it a weird way breaks the monotony of the same old crap they usually hear and then just makes it easier to do. So that's what I do. Kimberly Walbeck is saying, been subbing in a school and hoping to get hired. Any help? Any tips? Yes, Kimberly, I do. I would say, so is there any hope that you could get hired at the schools you've been subbing at? Or how can you go, here's how I think you achieve anything. You go above and beyond whatever's being asked. So, and I've done this at every job that I've ever had just because I want to, because I never want to trade. Let's take this a little deeper. I never, ever want to trade my time for my money. I never want to do that. I want to take it next level all the time and own the job that I'm in. So when I worked at Home Depot, this is way too much information for everyone. At Home Depot, we used to have to drop pallets, right? If you go to Home Depot, these giant pallets of products on the top of all the racks, right? And so generally in a day, somebody will take down one of those, maybe two, and unpack them and put all the stuff away and price them and all this crap, right? So my friend and I decided we were going to start going to work an hour early, and we would drop 30 to 40 pallets in a day, right? When most people do one or two, And then our aisles would be pristine. I mean, it would be clean. There was no dust. Everything was priced perfectly because I don't want to trade my time for my money. It doesn't seem like a fair equation to me. So I always go above and beyond. So that being said, when you're in a school and you're subbing, maybe you go above and beyond. Maybe someone notices that, or maybe when you finally do the ask and you say, hey, does anyone know a spot that's like looking for a job? People will, maybe they'll pick up on that. They'll want you because you're the one that's like volunteers for the extra stuff, does a little bit of hallway monitoring, even though they don't have to be out there. Maybe you go do bus duty that everyone hates because it's 10 degrees outside. You can just go out to help, right? Like, it's like you're just being a helping hand wherever you can be. Yo, we're running low on copy paper. I got you. Like, I have it. I think that kind of stuff goes a long way. And then that's what ends up helping you to break through the noise of the whole hiring process. That was a really long answer. These are long answers this evening that I have.
Speed it up.
I feel like I'm talking super fast. I feel like the end of a commercial. Offer now available in Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and what's up with Hawaii and Puerto Rico? They never are involved in any offers.
Poor.
That sucks, man. It's because they have too good of weather. They're like, you don't even need this. You don't need the lottery. Anthony Biggs is saying, good evening. Hope you're well. I am well. I have a class that's absolutely nailed with behavior. And few learners have been added, and the dynamic has totally shifted. Any tips? So what about this, Anthony? What about this? Let's go. We're going this route tonight. I think what would happen if you kind of laughed at the situation, right? And not in a way that like threw it off, not in a way that you just kind of were done with it and we're like, screw everybody, I'm kicking it, I'm just going to sit back and relax. But what if you almost kind of like laughed at the challenge, right? So like I've heard Tony Robbins say things before, like learning how to dance with fear. So I know have someone come up on stage and these two they will try and pull the individual, like Tony Robbins will try and pull the individual around the stage, right? And so instead of trying to pull against it, what if you just went with it and you just started moving around? And I just think that it would be a really interesting idea if you just kind of laughed at the situation, at how ridiculous it gets. Because sometimes it gets so ridiculous and we beat ourselves up. But what if you just kind of smiled at it and were like, all right, there's an answer in here somewhere, right? Somebody, some teacher somewhere in the world could figure this out, right? What would they do? What could you do? What is it about your personality, your skill set that you could direct towards this situation and just crush it, right? And I think sometimes that's by moving the needle a little bit at a time. It's not some kind of sweeping, overarching, like we're changing this in the class. Everything's changing in this class. Sometimes that's right, but sometimes it's just these little things that push us in the right direction, and then you just build momentum, right? And then before you know it, the whole thing has changed. So that's what I would consider doing. You got a question for me on there? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna drink some more coffee out of this Texas mug. Thanks, Texas.
Texas airport.
Yeah, the airport always has the best mugs, I think. Let's see. Huntopia?
Yeah. And then she has another one down there that I think goes with
two?
it.
Okay. What are certified credentials? Do you need them to teach or teacher credentials, whatever they are called? So you do, but there's a couple of different ways to go about getting them. Like, so in the US, I know you could do like, just go to school for education. I graduated with a degree in English, which I quickly realized was good for absolutely nothing. I have a ton of books now, and I read a bunch of stuff, and it sounded smart, but it didn't get me towards anything I wanted to do. So I went back for what's called my post-baccalaureate degree, which really meant I think I had to take like 1 semester of education courses, and then I student taught, and then that was it. I know there's other people that do alternate route, which usually typically means you get like placed in a school that can't find teachers otherwise. So a lot of times like a section or Title I school or something like that. And you can kind of go to school for education while teaching. Now that is really like, to me seems like, hey, I never ran before. Let somebody drop me into a race and then I'll train on the weekends. And it's like, whoo, you got to be just mentally ready for that situation. Or something like Teach for America. You could do. Look. I've known a lot of good people that have gone through Teach for America. I'm not particularly a fan because I think they sell that savior mentality a little bit too hard. Like, so I could be wrong, but that's the sense that I get about them. So I think there's a number of different ways, but yeah, you have to have like certain things in line to be able to teach. And what state you're in depends on, like, that changes. Did I miss one?
You messed me up.
I messed you up.
Yeah, you were about to send yourself a super chat.
Oh, well,
I don't know how you did
maybe
that.
I want to pay myself.
Mhm.
I think super chats are a great idea. I don't even know how to super chat anyone. Whenever someone
It's
gives
right
us
there.
money,
Look, it's right there.
Oh,
Super
really?
chat, yeah.
people send money. I'm just like, how did they do that?
It's
I
the
don't even
little
know how it
dollar
happened.
sign at the bottom of the thing.
Should I talk about something while you're doing that? Because I have a great idea.
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So while we're looking for a question, I have this great idea. I think it's a great idea. I'm going to bounce it off you because you all are, decide largely whether or not I'm going to do stuff a lot of times. I have this idea where in my school, and this could be an everywhere thing, but I grew up like in the early 90s where like I had really long hair or mohawks that I did myself. So like haircut
got it.
culture wasn't really something that was important to me. All right. I'm going to get to that 1 second. So because you know what I'm going to talk about, right? So I have this idea. I have an old student that cuts hair in West Philadelphia, and he is awesome. Like all of my older guys all go to this dude. But I have a number of dudes that come to school with hair that is like, they went to the barber that, I don't know, everyone calls Thumbs, or like he's like the old guy from the barber shop that like nobody wants to go to anymore because they like carve their heads up, or like they try and get like a shape up and it's all jacked up and crooked, or they get like their back, the guy didn't know how to fade it right. And so haircut culture in West Philadelphia, in the city, right? I don't know that this is like a thing across the world. Look, here's what I'm saying. Haircuts in my school, if you get a bad haircut, you are walking around with a do-rag as often as you can. You're faking a headache so that you can cover your hairline. You just don't come to school. It is something that crushes kids, their confidence, right? And their self-esteem. I really, really think that confidence and self-esteem help you in school more than anything else, more than work ethic, more than anything. If you can feel confident about yourself and in what you're doing, you can do better. So I have an idea. I thought about raising money during live feeds, and if you don't have money, this is fine. But like that, if I can, I think it's like $10 typically for a shape up from this dude that I know. So what my idea is, if folks give money, I would take that money and the entirety of it would just be moved over to an account in which I would sort of pay my guy up front, my barber friend up front, who's a former student, to cut hair for kids that I would give gift certificates to. And they don't have to know that it was free or that it was a hookup or that it's charity. It's really like, hey man, you need a haircut? Like, I have a guy and I just get free haircuts from him sometimes. So like, go take this, go get a good cut, and then come in. Because when guys get a good haircut, you see them like, they look like they walk taller. If someone gets a bad haircut, it is the most embarrassing thing ever. So I had this idea and I wanted to see what you all would think about it. Because in total, it is all of us supporting students that are then going to go get a haircut and then pay someone that used to be a student. So it's kind of creating this awesome like circle of life of kids helping other kids. And we are a part of that as well. So let me know what you think in the comment section. I would love to just like know what people think. And Indie Kitty just gave $2. Thank you very much, Indie Kitty, with your profile picture. I always like that picture. So what do you think about that? And then that will let me know if I should go ahead and do it or not. But I know this could have a really big effect on the school. And it's something that just our little community could help out on. Oh, you got me water?
I did.
Look at you. You're a boss. Allie, look at you with your hood up.
Because my hair is a mess. I'm really trying to be.
Allie Coyle saying, how much grace do you give students? On a test last week, students scored a few A's, B's, and C's, and everyone else failed. Allie, I would say I always allow students to retake any test. So if the test is on a Friday, which most of my tests typically are, they can retake it on Monday. but they have to do it on their time, before school, during school, or after school. And what that allows them to do is sometimes there's just a lot of tests on a Friday and you just can't get through all of them, and it's a nightmare. And the kids freak out. But if you can take it and then get a sense of like, oh, that wasn't so bad, or like, okay, now I know kind of what to look at or what to study or whatever. Like, no one's ever just taken advantage of it. No one's ever like retained all the questions. But if you got a 30 and you can get a 60, or if you got a 65 and you can bring it up to passing, it's just giving you that extra chance. Plus, this really, really builds in a buffer where you can talk to parents, or like maybe call home and say, hey, your kid had a 60 on this test, or you had a 15 on a test. Like, he can study over the weekend and retake it on Monday, but it has to be on his time. Parents will often take advantage of that also, because they didn't know the test was coming up, because they wanted to help the student and they couldn't, because they wanted to take advantage of that. So I just think that that's a really good move, and that's kind of what I would do. But I never just move grades. And sometimes it's worth looking back at a test and thinking like, was it fair? Did you do a fair job of putting it together? Because I know that sometimes I'll give a test and I'm like, man, that was kind of a jerk move. Like, I try to trick them on that question. It wasn't really fair. Like, because I want to rig it so they can win, but I don't want to like just baby them and hand over the A, right? So I think those are my two go-to answers for that. Claire S. is saying, how do you teach when you're personally having a bad day? Do you set that aside and not let it impact your teaching? Man, I would love to make that happen, but that just doesn't happen in reality. My least favorite thing, the thing that gets me set off the worst, is if my wife and I argue in the morning, or if my kids piss me off. You really just made me so bright. Look, my face is getting red. I'm going to like burn to death in this thing. Oh, look. And I have an inside out t-shirt on. Let's do that. It's getting real. It's a real rap. We're here. We're not faking it. We wear inside out t-shirts sometimes on the live feed. I think that like if my kids piss me off and I leave for school, it is very hard to come back from that. So I have a couple of ideas of what I do. One, I will drive to school and I think about what I'm grateful for, right? And this sometimes can shift a little bit. All we're looking for is tiny little shifts, not overarching shifts. I have a music playlist that I listen to that I'm not going to tell you what's on it, because not all of it, some of it's embarrassing. But it puts me in a better mindset if I'm singing those jams at the top of my lungs. So let me let you in on the secret. One of my favorite cheesy songs of all time, right? You're going to love this, is Walking on Sunshine, right? From the 80s. I don't know what it is, but it's like the happiest song, man. And those people put out one song, they didn't end up in a drug rehab or something like that, like ruining their lives. They're just still kicking it and going on with life. But they just they just are walking on sunshine, right? It's something about that song makes you feel better. Then showing up in school and trying to do something for someone else, right? So oftentimes if I'm aggravated about something, I just like make sure I say hi to extra people, make sure I say what's up to extra people, because doing that just makes me feel better. And then other times, here's your Hail Mary. Sometimes you can't do that. Like none of that stuff works. I just tell my students like, look, I'm having like the worst day and I'm aggravated as shit and I just can't handle it today. I need some grace from you guys. And no kidding, anytime I've ever asked that of my students, they are good, like for no reason. Like I've needed a root canal before, or I've had a migraine, or I have, my kids were up late and they were vomiting all night or whatever. Like whatever happened, it's like, dude, I need a day and I can't not teach. I can't just put on a movie. We need to get through this stuff. The compliance level is like through the roof. So you can't do it all the time because you don't want to ruin that. I'm afraid because it will make you want to go into school every day and pretend like you have a migraine.
But you also read. What's your book?
Oh, or I read anything by Father Gregory Boyle. Is just like, he's the best. And his stories, they're very, very brief. Something about it just makes me like not give up hope, and it just changes my mind. Someone just give us $10.
Yeah, we're gonna take all those and put those aside for.
What do you mean? Did somebody else do it too?
Well, no, Andy Katie.
Oh, okay.
$2
Awesome. Ella Jane, thank you very much. I'm going to get a kid a haircut for that. And
Andy Katie's will go to that.
yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. That's awesome. What else is next there?
That one.
Bailey, I think I'm saying that right. Bailey R is saying, have you read Teach Like a Pirate? Just started it and it reminds me of your teaching style. So I've not read that book, but my homie,
Mr.
Matera, I'm blanking on his first name. Michael Matera
Is it Michael?
he got a book published by that guy, Dave Burgess, called something about
Game Like a
gaming.
Pirate?
So his idea is like teaching through games, right? And so gamification. He has a YouTube channel also, and he's really, really helpful and really practical. So I've not read his book yet, but I know, and I don't know him, but I know like all his people that are like around him. So I feel like
Dave Burgess likes you, so he follows us on Twitter.
Yeah. So I feel like Dave Burgess and I would hang one day and be pirates together. He'll be a pirate. I'll be a.
I don't know.
I don't know what I would be. What would I be? Silver Fox.
An idiot.
We got dead air.
I'm sorry.
Howard's art class is saying, how are you, by the way? My husband is going back to school after being in the Air Force for 6 years and wants to be a history teacher, but he's nervous about student teaching while being older and interacting with students. Any advice? So first of all, the reason it's making me laugh is whenever someone was ever in the military and then they're nervous about doing anything else, it's like, dude, you were in the military. Like you got this, you know how to be disciplined. You know how to put your foot down. You know how to like have uncomfortable conversations and like deal with like people that don't follow your authority or whatever. Like I once talked with a guy, Mr. Hagerman, and Hagerman was in the Marines and he just crushed it. Like just the way he carried himself, the way, because look, I really think that teaching.
Someone said in here, the best teachers are retired military.
Yeah, because, and I think it's because they're not afraid. And teaching is so much about your confidence level, your ability to look at a student, look at a staff member and say, no, it's not going to happen like that right now. And even if you have to fake that, even if you do that all day and you go home and faint as soon as you're done, but like you just faked it. I just kind of think of the end of Stand By Me. When the kid pulls out the gun. I mean, this isn't a perfect metaphor, right? But he pulls the gun on the other kid and he's just kind of like, no, you're not like taking this moment from us. Like this is our moment. And so I just realized how messed up of a metaphor that was completely. But anyway, yeah, I just think that he should not sweat it at all and just get after it. He's going to do a great job. And if while he's doing that, if he wants to email me, he has questions, he has concerns about anything, just let me know. I'd be happy to help with anything I can. Cody Miller is saying, hey, Reynolds, do you have any tips on teaching writing? My students struggle to elaborate in their writing, and I was wondering if you had any thoughts on how to help them brainstorm and write more. So, Cody, I would say, I'd say making whatever they're writing about, like, kind of relevant to them, right? So, like, whatever is maybe current in the world, whatever they're interested in is going to just make them able to write more. I find that my students learning to write about themselves helps because how can you be wrong? It's about you. But I think also 2 programs that I've used recently, and one of them I did partner with, right, to be honest, is Storybird. Storybird.com has reading stuff on there, and they're awesome. Like they have just really good content. And so I try to only work with companies that I really, really like appreciate. So whether that's Teachers Connect or I think or Storybird or any number of other companies, like it has to be something I believe in. So I think they have good stuff on there. And when you go on there, you'll see videos of me. So just so you know, that's coming. And also Think Circa, which is the word think, and then I think it's CERCA or CIRCA. Think Circa is another program that our school started using recently. And what I like about them is they have like a writing platform that you can literally change an article to be on grade level. So if you have kids in your class that are on the 6th grade reading level, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you can have the article formatted in different ways. It changes the vocab in it and stuff, and changes the writing a little bit so that the kids are on grade level. It also has text to speech, which is really, really important sometimes. They also have stuff like they walk them through how to write. Now, I know my girl, Tracy Pinter, does not, like, her kids have had a hard time using Think Circuit, but so far this year, it seems like it's really worked in our school. So those are the two things I would direct you towards. And then also just making sure that you're making whatever you're writing relevant, and make it, the kids feel like they're getting away with something sometimes. Cause then, they might write more because they feel like this isn't so extra about that. Teachers Connect just gave $4.99. Nice. So awesome. Thanks, man. I'm going to assume that's Frank. I'm not really sure. Frank is the behind the scenes dude at Teachers Connect. But thanks, man. And he put a turtle on there.
I know the turtles.
Turtle thought he was so funny in school last Monday because everybody
was putting
started
turtles.
using turtle emojis, and he was telling all the other kids like, "Yo, I was on Reynolds live feed and I was putting turtles, and then everyone else started doing turtles." And he's like this goofy. He looks like little Gary Coleman, like from what was that show?
I can't
Different Strokes. Different Strokes it takes. That happened. Piano Boy is asking, how do you end your semesters? Of course, you may take a test of some kind of assessment. Do you do anything special for the students before Christmas break? So, gosh, should I talk about this? Because I think this is actually going to go down this year. I love
your holiday. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Don't talk about that.
I think that now everyone's
I know.
turtling it up in there. So I always do an assessment. So I think you have a couple of different ideas here, right? I will do a test on the last day, which it seems really mean, but man, nothing hones everybody in like a test. Or I'll do something seemingly fun, but that really depends on the class. Like sometimes the classes are really good and it can go awesome. And sometimes they just think that this isn't important and I can just go to the bathroom for 30 minutes and I'm never going to come back and it's a madhouse. Or this year, here's my idea for some of my classes. I want to have holiday pancake time. And I'm going to bring in, this is
an electric.
When I say things out loud, sometimes in my head, they sound normal. And then I say them out loud and I realize this is what I'm actually going to do. If some of my classes, I'm going to bring in like a griddle, we're going to make pancakes and we're going to eat pancakes to celebrate the holidays because I just think that that's a great way to leave and go on break this year. Our break for winter break this year is like 16 days long or something. So I really want to leave on the best foot that I can and really like honor the kids. Not all my kids get to celebrate the holidays and some of that's a religious thing and some kids just don't have it like that. So whatever I can do to just kind of like have that moment together is great. And it makes me feel more like Mr. Fezziwig from Christmas Carol, which is my favorite character of all time. Which one am I on here, dude? Underneath? Leslie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Leslie Carmichael is, excuse me. Carmichael is saying, how do you handle missing homework for families that put sports before school? So that's a good question. So, man.
Just don't give homework.
Missing work partially for me is if you're sick, you have as many days as you were sick to make up the work, right? Now, there are exceptions for that because if someone had the flu or if they had a concussion or if they come back and they have a mountain of work, it's like, dude, just come talk to me and we'll figure something out. So for the people that put activities ahead of school, there is no makeup work for that. Like if you had a football game tonight, like, and this is why I give very little homework, almost no homework at all. I don't believe in homework. I think that most studies show that homework is ineffective. And my students, and this is for my students, right? Because my students have a particularly long day from 8 to 4 every day. And if you play football, sometimes you don't get home until 7 or 8 o'clock. You had to take a bus an hour and a half to get home. I'm not going to do that to kids. But what's happening in my class is very important. So if you miss a day and you had sports that day, you had a football game or something like that, you need to come see me before the end of the day. You don't come after and say, hey, I didn't get the work from yesterday. I had a football game. It's your responsibility to come see me before you go. And then I'm willing to work that out though. I'm willing to have the conversation with kids. I very rarely have like just flat out rules that I want kids to stick to. in a lot of cases, because I want to be able to have the conversation, have kids be able to figure out how to advocate for themselves and talk about it. So look, I think, to be honest, Leslie, maybe if you just shoot me an email and you tell me like what's going on, I might be able to speak to that a little bit easier. Or we could like FaceTime on Instagram or something like that. And I could kind of walk you through that. But it's a little bit hard to answer some questions because I'm not exactly certain like what the circumstances are. Selena, you're going to break. There's a lot of vowels in that last name. Franceschi? I'm going to go with that. So Selena is asking, do students in America have finals before Christmas break? We have 2 weeks of it. No, but I don't know where you are, but for some reason I thought you said Australia.
No.
We have trimesters at my school, and so different schools have different lengths of time, right? So some have quarters. The school year is broken up into quarters. Ours are broken up into thirds. So we are only not even at the halfway mark of our second trimester right now. So we could give a test before winter break if we wanted to, but that would be up to us. I don't do an end of trimester final. I do a final at the end of every book. So there's 5 books a year. So whenever they land is when you have those tests, but I don't do that otherwise. Michael Riley just gave $20. That's awesome.
Giving some haircuts.
We're giving some holiday haircuts. It's a holiday haircut extravaganza with Michael Riley. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. So what do you?
Oh, well, sometimes it bumps it back.
Oh, okay.
Queen
de la Classroom. We haven't seen Queen de la Classroom in a while. She is the queen of the classroom. CJ, how do you handle high schoolers cheating on assignments? Man, let me tell you something. My mom always told me, I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. And so I do not handle lying well. It is my absolute kryptonite. I cannot stand lying. It makes me pissed off because I put so much time and effort into relationships that, man, when you cross me, it pisses me off. Now, I'll say this also. I will never, ever, ever give up on a student. I have kids, even this year, that make me insane. They make my hair whiter. Like my hair will glow at a different level of intensity of white some days because they're stressing me. But I always hold out hope. So if I give a test, so one of the ways I get around cheating is by giving kids a test, and I say, look, you could chalk this, you could completely fail it. It's okay. You can retake it on Monday. But if you cheat, you're not allowed to retake it. And I've changed that this year. So I tell them, I said, I do lie a lot in the classroom. I said, if you cheat, you're never allowed to retake a test for the rest of your life in my class. Like never, ever, ever. And now look, it's total nonsense because if someone turns around, if someone realizes what they did wrong, if someone comes and talks to me and we have an honest, real conversation, not just them trying to make me happy, I can say, look, realize that you whatever was going on, you realize the error in your ways and now you're going to change that. Awesome. But largely, I just don't let kids retake tests if they cheat. And anyone that cheats, like on an assignment, gets a 0 and the other person gets a 0. And I write it in the online gradebook, like 0, student got a 0 because they cheated it. And I call home and I log it in PowerSchool. It's like a big deal because I really don't want it to happen. And I tell kids like, look, man, so it hurts my feelings when you cheat because like, I'd rather you come to me for help. What this is saying to me is like, you were trying to like get one over on me and I just feel some type of way about that. So that's kind of how I handle that. I lay the guilt on thick. It's my Catholic roots coming out. Courtney Mann is saying, I graduate in December. How often do you see teachers getting hired halfway through the year? All the time. Because there's all the teachers that were like, I thought this was a good idea and teaching's a nightmare. And now I don't want to do it. So you just put the Eagles game on?
Yes, I've seen score.
So my wife just put the Eagles game on behind us. But I think that happens constantly. And if not, maybe you get like a long-term sub position because someone went out on pregnancy leave or something like that, which those long-term sub positions oftentimes lead to actual teaching positions in schools because they really saw what you were worth and they really loved what you were doing, and then it turns into a job. So yeah, I wouldn't sweat that at all. So good luck to you also. Summer Tate is asking, what are some strategies to help with writing stamina? Trying to get students who have a difficult time writing started in camp, get past a paragraph within a class period. Yeah, I see this all the time too. Like I have journal entries that my students have to do every day, and they have to write 5 sentences. And so one of the things that my co-teacher has started to do is, and I don't shout my co-teacher out enough, right? But like I teach with this guy, Mr. Fines, and Fines like is a great dude who really tries. He really wants to do good work. He has a really good heart. And so I just want to say, Fines, I know you probably don't watch these things, but I really appreciate you, and you do a really good job. So in my class, I tell them it's a 5-sentence minimum most of the time. Sometimes it's 8, but I want them to just see like that it's not that hard to get to 5 to 8 sentences. And if you can get to 5 to 8 sentences, like you can do another 5 to 8 sentences. So Fines will often write like leading questions on the board, right? So let's say the question, one of my weird questions is like, what song best represents you? So he might say like, what is the song? Who is it by? Why? Where did you hear it first? Why does it represent you? Like, what is the connection point between your life and the song? And then give an example of like, this song gets me pumped up. For what? For basketball, for making out, for like going to take a test. Like, what is it that what mental place is it putting you in to do that? And so he like guides them through that. I think the other thing you can do is be the example. I've seen a huge change in my students from when like now, whenever I ask them to do a writing prompt, I typically will sit there and do it with them. And then I read mine first. So they get an example of like what this looks like, or I'll do mine ahead of time and say, look, here was mine. Because I'm a learner that like, if I see an example of it, I can do it. So I will, if the kids do a project, I always do the project with them. So whatever that project is, I always do a version of that too, so they can see it. And I try not to make mine crush. I try and make it the most bargain basement version of it that I can. But I think that sometimes doing things with your students helps them do it better, because you're not just explaining it, you're actually walking through it also. How do you maintain a work-life balance as a teacher? We drink a lot. No, I'm just kidding. I just feel like teachers invented happy hour.
Right.
I think it's always about shifting. Look, in my experience, I've never found a work-life balance that I'm like is just perfect. And I don't know that I want to, right? I think that those feelings of anxiety and fear and tension, they push you to the next place. But I find that for me, it's on a good week, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and 5:15 in the morning, and I read. And so I typically read something that's going to put my mind in a good space. So maybe that's a book by someone I like. Maybe it's a blog post by someone that I like. Then I meditate. And right now I've been using the Headspace app because it's free for the first 10 times. And I listen to Headspace, and then that is a guided meditation for 10 minutes. And then I just let my mind sort of ramble for 10 minutes, right? And I think about I call it doing a brain dump. So like I think of all the things I have to get done during the day, and then I write all of them down. And then I realize how involved this is. And then I figure out like which ones are the most important for the day. And then it's around here somewhere. I do a 5-minute journal, which is something I found from Tim Ferriss. And it literally takes 5 minutes. And then I fill that in, and then I feel ready for the day. So here's the difference that has created in my day. And that's not even all that I do, but like it puts me in a space where the day is not happening to me, it's happening for me. And so if you wake up, right, and you jump out of bed and you have to get in the shower and you're hurrying right away, I don't like that. I like going into my day like I control it, and getting up early helps me to feel like I'm controlling it. And then aside from that, I exercise, I'm mindful about what I eat. I listen to only podcasts. I only listen to podcasts and music to and from school that put me in a good space. So I'm not going to listen to like something that's like, I don't know, angry, or like I used to listen to like, I don't know, a lot of angry music, I guess. But like now I'm just mindful of like kind of what I'm putting in, because that's what I want to come back out. So that's how I handle that, John. My good friend Nayara is saying, my admin is very against quote unquote tracking students. So students of all levels are mixed, which is okay. As a music teacher, we are trying to push the music program forward, and we need to start having auditioned ensembles. It's very common in successful music programs. How can we convince admin that auditions and tracking are not the same? Any advice? That's
That's a tough one.
I think that's so odd. I'd love to know more about like why they don't like tracking. I just think tracking is extremely interesting. I mean, I use tracking all the time in my to the point of nauseum for my wife, where I'm like, all right, because New Year's is coming up, and what does New Year's mean in our house?
Gosh, reflecting. I hate it.
I reflect on my year. I write out all the things I loved this year, all the things I didn't love. I figure out like how could I have done better? How could I have like what things that I focused on weren't worth focusing on? It's like a whole process every year at New Year's that I like try and figure out like how am I going to do better? How do I want to do better? How do I want my life to be like better in the next year? So I think part of that is like making it a real world thing, or asking, literally maybe asking the school like, hey, look, I get this. This is our vibe. This is where we're coming from. But this is happening. Like, how would you handle this situation given sort of the constraints that we have? That might be a good like conversation to have with the school, because maybe they tell you to, figure it out. That's why you're the teacher. I don't really know how they would get down with that. But I think sometimes letting the school, like holding a mirror up to what they're doing and saying like, okay, cool. I can get behind what we're doing because I see this is the reason why. But when this happens, it's not so black and white. Like I'm not really exactly sure what to do with this. The other thing I would say is there's two options here. I think they are either you could go on somewhere like Teachers Connect and you could ask that question. You could post it on their website and see what other music teachers follow it. Or if you want to have it in, we also have, what I mean by tracking is putting all the low kids in one class and high flyers in another. See,
Yeah, I don't think they should do that either. I think they help.
There's a lot of nuances
right,
there. And the nuances are, so last year I had all my low guys in one class and we just named it. It was like, bro, look, we're not there. Like our reading levels are super low, but let's get after it. Like let's own the reality of it, and then we're just going to crush it. I think when you do that, you're owning your issues, right? But I do see value in like having, so when I do small reading groups in a class where I put like a good reader, a medium reader, and a low level reader in a group together, I do see growth in that also. But sometimes classes don't work out like that. Sometimes classes don't work out where there's like an even number of kids. You might be too heavy on the low end and not good enough on the high end. So it really takes a school that has like the ability to really kind of figure that stuff out. But the other option I would say is like we have that closed Facebook group now. So that for those of you that don't know, it's Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk on Facebook. It's a closed Facebook group where you have to be in education to be in it. And I see people putting questions on there and getting really thorough answers. And it's all people from here, right? So it's not the world. So I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is that it's like this closed group of just like Real Rap with Reynolds, like followers, or no, that sounds weird. Appreciators, or like those of you that get down in the comment section.
Like-minded.
Yeah, like-minded individuals. That gives you a space to do that. Did somebody else just give us money?
Yes.
What's her name? I want to make sure I say it. I think I just moved the question.
I know.
I see her profile picture. Lindsay Schmelzer. How can I possibly get that last name right, but I can't get anyone else's last name right?
I know someone that's similar.
Schmelzer. It's a great last name.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out with the Schmelzer. Anyway, Lindsay Schmelzer just gave $10 so that we can get kids haircuts. Thanks a lot, man.
Wait,
It's awesome.
fast. There people are saying that they think that Super Chat takes a portion of your money. So they're thinking that PayPal might be a better way. But we're gonna look into it. I think that PayPal also
or Venmo.
takes,
Can we do Venmo?
I don't know. PayPal also takes a portion of money, I believe. We do have a Real Rap with Reynolds PayPal account that's there.
Yeah.
And set up. So if you want to try there, you can try there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Like when? Tonight?
Soon. I'll have an answer for people next Sunday. On
Okay,
Super
cool.
Chat. I know PayPal takes a portion also. I'm not sure because I'm not sure on their end on how you send money in. I know when it's a business and they do take a portion or a payment for something, we do get hit with like a portion that gets taken out of it through PayPal. So I'm not sure when the sender sends it, if you can send it as a gift.
Would you do a Venmo or not?
We could do a Venmo as well. There is a Real Rap with Reynolds Venmo if you want to look that up too.
Okay, cool. All right, so options. I think I just moved this question.
Oh, dang it.
Mark Darden's on here.
They are, no,
Uh,
not that one.
no.
That one. Goes back a lot. Great.
uh, Arian, that's what I'm going with. Is asking what was your experience like with your post baccalaureate program? I think you said at one point that's the route that you took after English degree. It is. And I thought that was a two-part question. So I thought it was awesome. But look, like anything else, it has to do with the people that you're with. So the students I was with were like nothing special. Most of them, it's so funny. Like in a lot of my classes, I was with folks that wanted to teach, but they weren't willing to participate in class. Like the teacher would ask them to get in groups and they'd be like, oh my God, what are we doing? It's like, what's the problem? That's like teaching a dancing class and no one wants to dance. It's like, bro, get up and let's get after it. Like, let's do this. I had a professor named Dr. Jorgensen at Rowan University who was really great. She taught for 30 years and then taught people about teaching. So it wasn't like she taught for 5 seconds and then went to college level. And my practicum teacher was awesome, Mr. Zakaria at Winslow Township High School in New Jersey. And he actually pulled me back in to do student teaching with him. And it was awesome. So I just loved it. And look, I think teaching after, like a little bit later in life, is just great. Like people get worked up about that all the time. And I just think, more, like you've had, and this isn't a diss to 22-year-olds that are starting to teach, but like you've just been through life. You've had some stuff. You've been some places. You've had like some experiences, and that all gets pulled together and informs your teaching. And it just makes it that much better, I think. Rebecca Recca, that's kind of
That's a fantastic
awesome.
screening.
Is saying Recca is saying, I just want to keep saying it. It reminds me of-
Teachers Connect just gave $24.99 for our haircuts for kiddos.
Thanks.
Nice. I'm going to say it's Frank over there, but I'm not really sure. But Teachers Connect just gave $24.99. I like that they gave $24.99. I feel like it's like a special. So that's awesome. Thanks a lot, man. And make sure that
Yeah, haircuts. We got a lot of haircuts.
Yeah, that's
And for holidays, it's
yeah.
really nice.
So look, man, because there's always kids like right before the holidays that need a haircut, and you're like, they're going to those holiday parties looking rough. So this is great. This is awesome. People are great, man. Anyway, Rebecca Recca is asking, how can I motivate students who have failed their mock exams and feel like there is no point to do work anymore because they won't pass at the end of the year anyway? So look, Rebecca, I think, I talked about this in a video recently where I talked about the idea that when I have students that fail, I want them to fail as best they can, right? Because it's not always about the grade. It's about the level of grit. So I might know that, if you're in a street fight, this is the example I used on the video. And I tell my students this, if you're in a street fight and someone comes at you and they're going to beat you up, because there's no way you can beat this dude. He's infinitely tougher than you are. You don't back out and go, all right, just kick my ass and just stand there and catch an ass whooping. You have to actually fight back, right? On some level, it's just who we are as humans. If you're going to get into a car crash, you don't just go, just resign to it. You try, right? If your team is playing another team in football or basketball, you don't just forfeit because you were going to lose because the other team's better than you are. You try your best, because when we build that level of grit, when we get used to facing certain doom and trying our best, I just think that it does something. What's the beast barking at? Oh, so the dog's going to bark a whole lot because my dog's friend is getting picked up, and now that's going to happen. Come on in, son. Oh, Bryce, what's up, man? So I just think that I'm doing a live feed, so I'm just going to keep doing my live. Bryce is here, everybody.
Hey,
There it is. So I just think that's one of the things I try and communicate to my students is that like just not just giving up. It's a life skill to just keep trying and to fail, but then to learn from your failure. Because what you're doing is you're not just failing, you're producing a result. And what happens when you produce a result? You look at it, you figure out how to best it the next time. So that's the conversation I have with my guys. Jose Tanada, I think I got that right, is asking, hello from California. Oh, Jose, we were supposed to live in California after we got married, and my wife changed everything. And my brother lives in Ventura now, and it's like 64 degrees there today, and it was like 31 degrees here. So I hope you're enjoying it. So Reynolds, are you doing anything holiday themed or fun in your class to wrap up before the week before holidays? I am. So like I said earlier, I think we're going to do a pancake day where I'm going to like bring in a griddle and like make pancakes with students and like hang out. I love that. So my school is it's not a lot of different religions, but I think that's like, there's like Christian kids and Catholic kids who don't think that they're the same thing. And there's a lot of Muslim students, and there's a lot of Jehovah's Witness or just kids that like don't do any like holidays at all. And so I have this idea. I'm not really sure how this is going to work out yet, but I want to create something where we can all sort of like celebrate together, just the time of the year and being together. And then so this is also building into this. Listen to this. I have this idea this year that I want to celebrate Groundhog's Day and have a Groundhog's Day like big event, because I just want there to be some type of year where it's not you and us against one another. It's like we have this thing together. So I have that idea. But yeah, I think we're going to do pancakes the day before winter break, and it's going to be awesome. What am I at here? Brad Miller is saying, hey, wondering what the next steps, what next step as a teacher would be. Where do you see yourself moving forward in your own classroom? Oh, for me. Mm-hmm. So Brad, I think for me, the future holds, one is just getting better. I just think that you can always get better. And that, look, there is a sense in me that, I think when my parents were my age, I don't mean to diss them, but I just feel like my parents were content. I don't feel content at 40, and not in like some sort of restless way, but just in a way where I want to keep growing and changing and doing new stuff, right? So when my stepdad was my age, he was like worked whatever hours that he worked. He came home and just kind of like chilled, had a couple beers on the weekends, watched NASCAR, football, or whatever. We went on vacation every year for 2 weeks, and that was fine for him. Like he didn't seem like he like wanted a whole lot more than that. I'm not interested in that. I feel like there's room to grow even within my own classroom. And then I think the next step for me is really helping teachers. I think that I just want to make that the noise of being socially conscious, of being relevant in your classroom, of building relationships, of deeply caring for your students, of not blaming other people, of building your own confidence is so important, and making your work fun. Not just so that it can be fun so you can have a good time, but like, because I just think that stuff is contagious. I just think that is the next kind of level for me, is like, so more speaking engagements. That's why, do YouTube and all that stuff too. It's like, I just like getting this stuff out there because I think it's that important. And I get to see the change in the world, and then people changing kids' lives through that. So I think that's it. Patrick Millahan is asking, how do you deal with argumentative kids without making the situation worse? I think, Patrick, you never go toe-to-toe with a kid. That never ends up. That's when you see videos of teachers that are like are willing to go toe-to-toe in front of the whole class, and then they end up beating their students, or the students punching them. That's why you get these crazy videos on YouTube. I think you listen to them and you hear their side of the story, and you really talk to them about that, instead of just trying to like win. Like I always tell students, I'm not interested in winning because I want to be in control. I'm not interested in like having rules because I want to like, I want to be the emperor of the classroom or something like that. What I want is for you to win. Like I don't think you realize that. Like my whole job here is I want you to crush it. I want you to have a dream, to have something that you want, and to do well. And when you're not doing that, I'm going to call you on your shit. When you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'm going to call you on it, not because I need you to listen to me, but because I want you to have the things you dream of. And because I've been in this game long enough that I've seen what happens when you don't. That's when you're pushing shopping carts at Target. That's when you're like, have a crappy job, and not because you want a simple life, right? Because you didn't kind of ask for more than that. You didn't think you could get more than that. And I'm telling you, you can. You can do whatever you want, but you have to have hard work. There has to be grit behind that. There has to be someone there to push you, and that's all I'm trying to do. So I think having that conversation and letting kids know you're actually on the same team, but like what you're doing right now is working against you. So how can we figure that out together? Indy Kitty is saying, I hate grade inflation. I want my A's to mean something. Was that a question?
Oh, no.
No.
That was something
I think I agree with you. I think that's nonsense. Yeah, I feel like that was another conversation going on there, though.
It was a comment on something that we've already talked about.
Okay,
It
I
just
think
takes
it's
us so long to look down at the
100%
comments.
right, though. I feel like I've seen this picture
Need
before.
10 minutes.
I know. I'm trying to figure out this name. Gita, Ghida. Gita. I think I'm half right there, maybe. But the question is, I'm trying to do my best to control my class, but I'm still having a hard time. My students are too hyper and loud and don't care. Do you have any tips for me? I think sometimes I gave this a bit of advice earlier also. I think sometimes sort of smiling or laughing at the gross insanity of the moment sometimes, right? Sometimes stuff is so crazy that if you just step back and go, all right, this is insane. Like, this is my life right now. And taking it from there instead of like if I don't do that, my internal dialogue becomes, what are you even doing here? You have no right to be in this classroom. You have no right to be put in charge. Like, why do they ever trust you to do this? I have like this whole negative like narrative that's going on in my head. And instead kind of stepping back and going, dude, this is insane. Like, all right, we have to figure this out. And then trying to figure out how can you move yourself one bit closer. So you start noting these things like, let's see if I can figure out a way in class to get everyone to be quiet for literally 2 minutes while we do this beginning introduction. So I do stuff like journals, right? Or I do stuff like if you're not in your seat, you lose points. I do stuff like I count down from 5 and you need to be 100% quiet by the time I get to 1. I do stuff like saying ridiculous things to students, talking through a megaphone, like playing maybe you're playing Jeopardy music behind the time that you are writing a journal entry. You need people to be quiet for that amount of time. Maybe you are timing the things that you're doing so that, look, the train's moving on. If we're not paying attention, it's moving on and you guys are screwed. Or just noting the moment, like, guys, it's insane in here. I want you to know this is what's happening next. If you're not on point, you're going to lose out on it. And so, like, I just think that like those are things that work for me, but they only work if I'm not freaking out about it. I have to get my head right as quickly as I can. And just a lot of times that just goes with like smiling, taking a deep breath and going, all right, let's do this. And then that's just a better way to figure it out, and it puts your mind in a better place than freaking out. Summer Tate is saying, do you get flack from colleagues about the rapport that you have with students? I'm dealing with one colleague who thinks I'm too friendly, in quotes, and do too much for my students. I get that all the time. Look, but I know I just don't care. And I know, look, that literally, I'm giving advice right now that I hate when people give sometimes, because when people say like, you just got to learn to not care what other people think. It's like, dude, that's like damn near impossible. But something magical happened at 40. Like when I turned 40, I think I just started giving less of a crap about a lot of stuff in the best possible way. And if you remind yourself what your why is, right? So Simon Sinek is always talking about your why, knowing your why. And when you know what your why is for anything, it gives you a level of grit, of discipline, of push that you don't have otherwise. It also gives you a level of not giving a shit that you don't otherwise have, because you are, my wife's telling me to stop cursing. Because you you know why you're doing what you're doing. So I think remind yourself of that. And then if someone argues that, say like, that's interesting that you would say I'm too friendly with the students. Like, why do you say that? Or why do you think that? Or what's the negative outcome of those relationships? Like actually asking them, because then you're engaging in the conversation. Then you're going on offense instead of being on defense and saying, no, I'm not too friendly. And this is why. And I'm not saying you do this. I'm saying I do this or have done it. But instead saying, that's really interesting that you don't think I should give students a ride home from school. Like, why do you think that? And they might give me a whole list of reasons why. And then I would say, well, Cephas, who I give a ride home to just about every day, has a broken foot and just had it repaired last year, and it's really been bothering him lately. So that like what would you suggest? And not in a negative or like a sassy way, but like I'm not sure what else to do for him. Like, do you have a different suggestion? And they might say, oh, I didn't realize he had a broken foot and that's why you're doing it. That's actually really nice. That's kind that you do that. So I think it's more about entering into the conversation than it is just about like trying to figure out a way to deal with it otherwise. So that's all. That's what I would do.
Two-part question. It's our last one, but listen, I want you to tell this guy to email you. He has some there's a lot of
Gabriel?
questions. Yeah.
So first, Gabriel Del Val. I didn't read what you wrote yet, but my wife is saying that she read it and that you should email me. So if you want to shoot me an email with that, then I can be sure to get back to you. And I'm doing like another email sprint tomorrow. So if you've emailed me and I haven't gotten back to you, I have like 30 emails to get back to tomorrow. And they're all take a long time.
For a day off.
Did she tell me her name already? And I'm going to mess it up again.
I don't know.
Marby. I think you.
Oh, she did way early, but I wasn't here. For
I
that,
apologize.
so.
I forget how that was pronounced, but I don't mean that by a diss. I just am not good with people's names. It said the question is: I currently work as an assistant in a top-performing suburban school with amazing kids and colleagues. My sister works at an urban school and has amazing, relatable stories. I have a year until I finish my degree to teach. How do you know what your setting is for you? Suburban schools versus urban schools. Look, so I would say this. I think for me, I knew that I wanted to be in an urban setting. I wanted to be in a school where I didn't see a lot of other people kind of going or staying. But that was me. That was like, for me, Cho's on here?
Yeah, she
Cho!
said people can just mind their own business. I love
Get
it.
it,
Love
Cho.
you, Cho.
Cho's on here, and Cho is the best. I had her on here before. She is my ninth grade level dean, and she's just like one of the best people ever. So put it up, Cho. Cho Turtle's on here too. Maybe you could yell at him for putting all these turtle emojis, because now he's making other people put turtle emojis. But anyway, back to my question. So I always knew all of my heroes have always been people that have looked for the underserved, right? So whether that was St. Francis or the Desert Fathers or Jesus or Malcolm X was like a huge inspiration of mine when I was a kid, or I don't know, even other more esoteric people like Peace Pilgrim, right? These are all people that like I always admired because they looked out for people that weren't being looked out for. Now, I will say that the longer I've been teaching, the longer I've been working with teachers in other schools, I have learned also that it's not just those populations where kids are overlooked. Like I have friends that teach in schools where folks are super rich, like crazy rich. Like my dad invented the screwdriver rich. And those kids just get like overlooked just as much because mom and dad are like busy being rich or busy working all the time. And they're raised by a nanny or by no one. And they are just as messed up as anybody else could be. So I just think that no matter what school, right? So maybe try some schools, maybe just go observe, but there are always going to be kids that need that care and love. And I don't think it's so simple to just say, look, it's only in the urban schools that like kids really need good teachers. I just think that in better schools, like in schools with more money and where, I don't know, things are just seemingly easier, I think more teachers will flock there. But at schools like, where me and Cho teach, I just think that it's harder, right? Like, so like you have kids that get shot. You got kids that don't come in after a holiday weekend. You have kids that like, there was a shooting outside of our school last week, like right outside of the school, and my students weren't involved, but it was like a thing you had to teach through. And I just think that takes that takes a different kind of teacher, not a better teacher, right? It just takes folks that are willing to kind of like grit that out, and that is a real reality. But I've totally had friends like Pocket Full of Primary, right? Is a friend of mine. Michelle was teaching at a Title I school, and she realized it was not for her. Now she's teaching at a different type of school, and she's killing it. She's a great teacher. It just wasn't a good fit for her. So I think don't be afraid to like get a job, try it out, and then if it doesn't work, move to somewhere else. I think that's fine. I think the worst thing you could do is be at a school and stay and know that like this isn't something I'm excited about. This isn't something I want to do. That's the worst thing that you can do too. So I appreciate you even asking that question, because I think it's a really important question to ask. So look, before we go, everyone, first of all, thanks to everybody that gave money, right? So the idea here is that all I did was ask a question. I didn't even ask for money, but what I'm trying to do is I have this idea of real quick of haircut culture within the community in which I teach, and how this is something that if you have a good haircut, it is incredibly empowering. If you go to the crappy barber, or you go to the Thumbs, the guy that like carves up your head and gives you like a round back instead of a fade, like you get dissed hard for that, and it really crushes kids' self-esteem. What I'm trying to do is create a culture, or not just me, but me as a part of the community with which I teach, to empower students, to have them coming to school feeling good about themselves. And so I have this idea that there's a barber in the neighborhood that I know, that I used to teach, or used to be one of my students, that if I could figure out a way to pay for kids to get haircuts through him, it's helping the community, it's helping the school community, it's helping my students, it's raising self-esteem, it's raising self-confidence in the school. It's us as a team, you and I, giving back to students. So if you feel so inclined to donate to that, awesome. And if you don't, maybe you just know somebody that would be willing to do it, or maybe you could just send like good vibes or something like that.
I also want to say, like, I don't despise $1.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Dollars, lots of dollars add up.
Yeah. So
like,
if
they
we had
make
10
impacts.
people give $1, that's a shape up
haircut.
for a kid.
Right.
Like that's what a shape up cost, is about $10. So awesome. So to everyone that gave money tonight, I really, really
I
appreciate
just want
it.
to say, someone said that they take 30% on this. So next week we are going to switch. I'll have it all set up, and I'll have the link in here for haircuts, but using PayPal. Because
Awesome.
even if PayPal does charge, I believe it's like 3% compared to 30. I want their money to go towards haircuts.
Because we're not taking a cut of this at all. This is like,
It'll go
we
straight.
take that money, it goes, well, I'm going to buy gift certificates for students, and then that just goes, and then I'll set a portion aside also to make sure that my homie Sean is getting like a tip on it. But this is awesome. This is going to be like changing kids' lives in a really weird way.
No, it's
Haircut,
empowering.
holiday haircut extravaganza.
Everybody knows.
All right. So everybody, real quick before I go, I just want to say, if you haven't checked out Teachers Connect, you can go do that. If you want to go deep with some of the people that you're talking to in the comment section, there's the Real Rap with Reynolds Facebook, closed Facebook group that's called Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk. And all the mentoring people, I swear to you, I am solemnly swearing to you, people that are asking me about being mentored.
It'll go email
My
tonight.
wife will send you an email tonight with how this is going to go down if you want private mentoring with me. Or you can just send show emails, because she'll do that also. So that's it. I'm going to go back and read all these comments now. Everybody, thanks so much. I really, really appreciate you. And I just think that you're doing great work, and I hope you enjoy your day tomorrow. I have off because a pipe burst in my school, and now I have off tomorrow. That's right, Turtle. We have off tomorrow. But for all of you out there that have good pipes in your schools, I hope you have a great day tomorrow. That's it. Peace. Awkward ending where we don't know where the button is. Happy holidays.